Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down these big, complex topics. Today, we're talking about something that shaped all of our lives recently: emerging and re-emerging diseases. So let's just jump right in.
All right, so where do these things even come from? Why do brand new sicknesses pop up? And why do diseases we thought were history suddenly make a comeback? This is a huge question, and the answer involves everything from tiny viruses to our own global habits.
Okay, to get our heads around this, we first have to know who we're up against. You see, we're dealing with two very different kinds of enemies here. So you've got two main categories. On one hand, you have the brand new threat, something humanity has literally never seen before, or at least not in a particular place. And on the other side, you've got this old enemy, a disease we thought we had under control that's now roaring back to life. All right, let's break that down a bit more. To really grasp the challenge here, we need to get into the official definitions of what makes a disease emerging versus re-emerging. So, what exactly is an emerging disease? Well, it can be one of three things. First, it could be a totally new agent, something we've never seen before in humans. Think HIV back in 1983. Second, it could be a pathogen that makes the jump from animals to people. Or third, it can be an existing bug that suddenly appears in a new part of the world, kind of like what happened with monkeypox in 2022 when it showed up in countries where it had never really been seen. Then you have re-emerging diseases. And these, honestly, are a huge wake-up call. They remind us that just because we've beaten something back doesn't mean it's gone for good. Diphtheria is the classic example here. Thanks to vaccines, cases in India were super low by the late 90s. But then, immunization coverage started to slip. And what happened? By 2004, outbreaks were happening all over again. It's a tough lesson. You can never let your guard down.
So that leads to the big question: what's causing all this? What creates the perfect storm for a new disease to pop up or an old one to come back? Well, as it turns out, a lot of the clues point right back at us.
Yeah, it's not just one thing, it's this whole cocktail of factors that are all mixed together. We're talking about big ecological changes and just, well, how we live, the way we travel all over the world, sometimes failures in our own public health systems. And then you have the pathogens themselves, which are constantly changing, plus the growing problem of antimicrobial resistance. It's a really complex picture. Okay, let's zoom in on that idea of the pathogens changing. Because viruses, they aren't static. They are constantly evolving, always throwing new curveballs at our immune systems. And they have two main tricks up their sleeve to do this, something called antigenic drift and antigenic shift. So here's a simple way to think about it. Antigenic drift, that's the slow and steady change. Think of a paper boat just kind of drifting down a stream, making tiny little turns. These are small mutations over time. But antigenic shift, whoa, that's a whole different ballgame. That's a sudden, massive change. The analogy here is perfect. It's like shifting gears in a race car. It happens when two different viruses mix their genes together and boom, you can get a totally new virus that our bodies have no idea how to fight. And you can see exactly how our own actions create these opportunities right here. This is fascinating. Look at this. We built cities deeper into forests. And what happens? We come into contact with animals and their viruses, like the Nipah virus. Or think about global trade. Even way back with the Silk Road, rats carrying the plague hitched a ride on goods. Today, it's just happening way, way faster. Even things we think of as progress can backfire. Inadequate water treatment can lead to outbreaks. And maybe one of the biggest ones, our overuse of antibiotics is literally training superbugs to resist our medicines, leading to things like multi-drug-resistant TB. It's wild to think that our own progress can sometimes roll out the red carpet for these diseases. But, it's not all doom and gloom. We're not just sitting ducks here. Faced with these threats, humanity has actually built a pretty incredible global alert system to fight back. So how does it work? Well, it's basically a four-part strategy. First, you have surveillance. That means constantly keeping an eye out for new outbreaks. Think of it as the world's neighborhood watch. Then, capacity building. You have to train the experts on the ground, the epidemiologists and public health leaders, so they're ready to respond. Third, research and development. We need strong labs that can quickly figure out what a new pathogen is and how it works. And finally, and this one's absolutely critical, information sharing. When a crisis hits, you need experts from all over the world to be able to talk to each other and collaborate. You put all that together, and that's our best defense. And this quote right here just sums it all up perfectly. An outbreak anywhere is a threat everywhere. In our world, where you can get on a plane and be on the other side of the planet in less than a day, that's not just a saying. It's a fact. We are all connected. And if you're thinking, okay, but how often does this really happen? Just look at this timeline. These are the moments the World Health Organization has had to declare a public health emergency of international concern, or a PHEIC. It's basically the global panic button. And look how often it's been pushed in just the last 15 years or so. We've got H1N1, a swine flu, a reemergence of polio, the terrifying Ebola outbreak, Zika, and of course COVID-19. And then monkeypox. These aren't once-in-a-century events anymore. This is the new normal, a constant challenge of living in our modern connected world.
Okay, so with all that in mind, where do we go from here? What's next? Well, if you ask the experts, the biggest threat we face might just be the one we haven't even discovered yet.
The WHO keeps a priority list of diseases they're most worried about, the ones they're pushing for research on. You'll see some familiar names on there: COVID-19, Ebola, MERS, SARS, Zika. But then, look at the very last one. And Disease X. What in the world is Disease X?
Well, here's the thing. Disease X isn't a real disease. Not yet, anyway. It's a placeholder. It's the WHO's way of saying, hey, we know the next big pandemic could very well be caused by a pathogen that is currently completely unknown to science. It's this really smart, really humble recognition that we have to be ready for something we can't even name or describe yet. We have to prepare for the unknown.
And really, that brings us to the final crucial point. The question isn't if the next pandemic is coming. The question is, are we ready for when it does? It's a sobering thought for sure, but it really highlights why this work, global cooperation, vigilance, and preparation, is more important than ever.